Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I say this is the morning podcast with Jacob and Ethan.
This is hell.
And we are recording.
We're recording. All right. Welcome to the Breakfast is Hell podcast. I'm Jacob Burok, and we are coming to you live from cloudy New York City. And here with me, I got Brit Bird. Brit.
Hello.
And I got Alex Chang.
Hello.
All right. And like I was trying to say before, just shoot the bull for an hour. I'll cut it down. It's not a, I don't know. We can just sit and stare at each other in silence too, if that's what suits you. But
Look, if you just want to put one of my beats on here and just like
yeah, dude. Brit, did you know Peaches is freaking all in the beat world now?
I did, yeah. He's been doing it for all of our podcasts on our podcast, not the Breakfast podcast, and it has the benefit of being custom bespoke to our podcast and also limiting our liability for when we get sued by all of the music
that
people
we used to quote unquote allegedly steal. Yeah, exactly.
Allegedly use. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah. So I guess
What's the proper name for this podcast again?
Breakfast is Hell.
Breakfast is
Hell?
hell.
What do you guys think it was?
I don't know. I didn't know.
I just remember the breakfast part, to be quite honest, and I was just like, oh, it's a theme, I suppose.
I think breakfast is lovely. The breakfast we just had was lovely.
Right.
it was more of a brunch.
Sure, but
Yeah.
breakfast is a
Well, it was
mentality.
really an afternoon snack because Brit took 2 fucking hours to get here.
That's true. My cats needed some attention.
Britt has
So,
cats now.
I do. I've got 2 kitty cats.
Oh, why? Why don't you have a dog like a man?
Because I've got 2 cats like a man.
Yeah.
Also, I live in New York City.
People have dogs in New York.
Ergo,
Cats are easier, but
yeah, I
people
feel
have
like
dogs.
if anything, having a dog is the New York City thing to do. Like being single and having a dog and being in your late 30s.
In your late 30s?
That's like the New York thing to be.
I feel like the late 30s thing is like having a family and living in like Park Slope.
That's like very late
Non-clear.
30s. You finally cave and like just marry whoever comes along.
Well, look, I'm almost early 30s, but late 30s I've got a while. But I just the dogs I grew up with, we had a yard growing up, so I just in the habit of letting the dog out. I'm not in the habit of going for like walks to have them go pee, and I just know that I would not enjoy that.
You just
So-
let it. It's like a frisbee. You just throw it. Not a frisbee, boomerang. You just throw it out and it'll come back. You know, if you love something, let it go, and if it doesn't
Okay.
come back, it never loved you to begin with.
I had been thinking about maybe like if I did get a job, now that weed's legal in New York, it's just like the perfect thing to like just smoke a joint and walk your dog with now, you know, on the street.
Oh, just being a dog walker?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, what else were you saying? I thought
No,
that's
no,
what you
just
were
like
saying.
no, I was just like talking about owning a dog and like
Yeah, just
it's
like the act of walking a dog would in itself be
Oh,
pleasurable.
once you got a dog. Once you got
yeah,
a job.
like the aesthetic
I
of like
see.
taking a dog on a walk and like lighting up a joint in front of some NYPD officers is very good
Just going
me.
for a walk in New York. Don't you ever go for a walk?
I do, but
yeah,
like,
but I don't want to make it like a thing where it's like, I have to get up and walk when I don't want to walk because I have to. It's not fair to the dog. It's not fair to me. I go on walks when I feel like it. I can just tell it
you
would
have
not
agency over your walks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. Also, like, you know, I have friends who have a dog and they're always just like, oh, I gotta go home to let the dog out because like, gotta go. And it's not. I just can tell I don't
Not
want
ideal.
that right now. Yeah. The cats though, adorable, perfect, little
fucking-
gentlemen.
I fucking hate cats. I
That's
fucking hate them.
that's unnecessary.
I'm just allergic to cats. I would have a cat if I wasn't allergic.
I have my phone turned on. What?
I would have a cat if I wasn't allergic to them.
You're allergic to cats.
Yeah. I'm allergic to a lot of things.
So Britt and Alex, by the way, Peaches, Alex. Alex and Peaches means the same thing in this podcast. Our hosts, we should probably tell them what podcast you guys are part of. You guys are New York
Oh, we're doing the
City's-
plug? We're doing our plug now?
New York City's premier soccer podcast, View from the 202.
View from 202.
View
There's no
from
the-
202,
yeah,
not the 202. Why can't you have the definite article in that name?
I mean, imagine if you Google
Well,
the 202, it'll probably still show up.
But the 202 would probably insinuate that we're from like DC
That's true. It does sound like an area code.
instead of like.
It already sounds like an area code no matter what you do.
Yeah, but it's our section.
It sounds even more like an area code if it's the 202.
It's like your identity is the 202, instead of
Yeah.
it being like we just like go
Are
to
you
202.
even really members of the 202 though?
There is no the 202. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's kind of to the
A202?
point. That's straight to the point, really.
and
It's,
202?
It's not like a
it's not
membership.
that much of a thing.
It's just where we buy our tickets.
yeah. It's really just something we thought of as a placeholder. And
When's the
it's
last
stuck.
time you guys have been to a Red Bulls game?
2
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
Lovely,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're on our way back.
We went to our first away game like 4 weeks
That's
ago.
true.
Yeah.
It was a little adventure.
Okay, so you guys are actually like still attached to the Red Bulls saga.
I mean,
Very-
Britt's no
very
longer a
much so.
season ticket holder, but I still am.
You were a season ticket holder.
I was, but I let mine lapse when I went back to grad school because I knew that it was not a safe assumption I would be able to make it every time. That's really why.
Well, you
And
were
it-
going to
over-
every game.
Yeah, I was.
Oh damn. Okay, because I felt like this fanhood was like a little bit more in name than actuality, but that's a level.
Jacob,
okay, you can't own a dog because you're worried about having to take it on a walk, but you can buy season tickets knowing you're going to go to every single soccer game.
Well,
He doesn't
I
do that
suspended
anymore.
my
Yeah.
season ticket because I knew
Like
I
you
wouldn't
had
be
that
able to
level
do
of
it.
commitment. You could handle a dog.
Well, dog's a living thing that you love. A soccer game is fine if you don't go to
Dogs
it.
also cost a lot more than season tickets to the New York Red Bulls.
How much is a dog? You buy it dog food.
Yeah, but like you have to go.
If
to
it gets really sick, you shoot it.
well,
Yeah,
we don't do that
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
We go to the vet.
You drown it in the Hudson. Sorry, we're in
No,
New York.
okay.
Oh no, the dog gave me hydrophobia.
Oh, okay.
What?
Okay.
That's like the old Yeller thing. They called rabies like hydrophobia.
Did they?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. You get afraid of water.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You wouldn't shoot a rabid dog.
In what context would I ever be in a situation
mean,
where
if-
I'd have to shoot a rabid dog?
If I have to.
Like to protect myself, sure, but like, what do I just like have a 12 gauge shotgun in the
You
middle of fucking
wouldn't-
Brooklyn
You
and like
wouldn't
a pit bull comes at me?
You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a DVD. You wouldn't shoot a rabid dog. Come on.
What are you referencing?
Oh, come on. Remember all those anti-piracy
They
commercials?
were on before like the movies. It's like you
Yeah.
wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah, I guess it
don't
was-
pirate
oh,
movies.
It was more
yeah.
the movies rather than TV. They're on TV sometimes, though.
All I know is about 2 years ago, I got on the high seas and I can't get off.
What?
Oh, like the
okay.
pirates.
Oh,
yeah.
like
mhm.
I
Gotcha,
freaking
gotcha.
I pirate compulsively now. It's like I can steal this.
It's a lost art.
I was talking to Brit the other day about how I think that the Pirate Bay logo. We were at the Mets game, and I was like, the Pirate Bay logo would make a great like soccer team crest.
Yeah. I think Bristol Rovers FC should actually use it as their crest because their current one sucks. So it's a free consulting idea for Bristol Rovers FC out there.
I'm sure nobody who's listening to your podcast would have ever thought that we'd be diving this far into soccer.
I don't think I have a huge. Oh, I do have quite a few European listeners. So there's probably people who know about soccer, about football, but I don't think our listener base is particularly enthusiastic about footy.
Fair enough. It's a thing to do, but we're on our way back. We are going to games again now. We're approaching normality.
Welcome to Open New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York is back, baby.
Yeah, pretty much. When we were leaving the Mets game on Friday, it was like, yeah.
New York
It's-
is
it's-
normal.
yeah,
now.
it's
Did you
pretty
guys
much
have to
back
wear a
to normal.
mask at the stadium though?
No, we
No.
didn't. But we had to flash our Vax card, but like in the most cursory way. I don't think the guy even really looked at mine. It was sort of weird.
Yeah, well, it was like
I thought everyone here is using like the Excelsior Pass now. Like you just have it on your phone.
I heard about that being a thing, and I heard the Mets in particular as being like one of the early adopters, but there was no indication of that anywhere.
yeah, I've never had a reason to do that, I suppose.
Although Julia they went to like a bar last night for like a big get together, and they said they signed up for Excelsior Pass, so I guess it's still around.
Yeah, the only time before the Mets game, the only time I had to use my Vax card, I went to a comedy show with Zach Fox and Jack Knight in Brooklyn, and it was like a fully vaxxed crowd, and it was just like pretty early. So they were just checking IDs against Vax cards, and they were pretty like they were looking closely to see if the like names matched and stuff like that. But the Mets game, there. It's funny because there were signs all over the place that said you must be fully vaxxed, which I think was a funny turn of phrase.
I like that that's become official language now. Actually, Julia told me I'm remembering now. They said that apparently if you go to the website, New York State website or whatever.
Well, they're using they as a pronoun, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah, you're talking about one person, not a group of people.
I'm talking about Julia because it uses they them. The website apparently you just they have all the data and you just put your name in and your date of birth and like when you got the vaccine and it pulls it up and it says yes, you've got it. So
wow,
that makes sense. But we're getting organized, getting it together.
New York State is. I mean, Europe is going full hog on the whole like vaccine passport idea and like that being the means to reopen. So, yeah, I don't know why we're not doing it here. And how do you guys? Because I mean, I had someone compare it to what'd they compare it to? I think they compared it to segregation, like not allowing unvaccinated people into baseball games. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's sort of.
I mean, yeah, but you choose to become vaccinated.
Well, it's fraught because like a lot of the people saying that are like saying that in incredibly bad faith and are just like being weirdos about it. But like so like in the short term, I think it's fine. I think like long term, like if they were to like sort of just give up on vaccinating everyone and then just being like, all right, vaccine passports. Like if you don't get it, that sucks. Like yeah, I think that would be bad because like that would actually leave like. Probably majority like undocumented people of color like out in the lurch disproportionately. That would be bad, but that's not the case yet. So like I think that like they should just keep going full throttle. One thing I saw that was interesting because I still follow some San Francisco stuff from my San Francisco journey last year.
Do you have a San Francisco attachment?
Yeah, well I did the summer out there. I interned.
Oh, well, you talk about that ship that was in San Francisco.
Yeah, I interned.
Isn't San Francisco like dying? Like it's kind of like bleeding out of every orifice.
Depends what you mean, because like it's similar to how everyone was saying New York is dying last year.
No one's saying New York is dying.
A lot of people were saying it last year.
No,
and they didn't
New York. Anyone who says that never lived here. Like everybody wants to be in New York.
Right.
Everybody like New York is the cultural capital of the Western world.
I mean, but that was the argument last summer is that people were saying that no,
people are stupid. Look, there are two things that drive the world: sex and mean reversion. And then anybody who didn't think that like mean reversion was going to apply in the case of New York can go fuck themselves because they were idiots.
Well, the whole thing is like the thing about New York dying was a reactionary take to begin with because it's people who are combative. For their personal reasons against the idea of like
people want New York to die.
Coastal elite. Yeah, I mean those are the people who are saying New York is dead to begin with. So it's
I mean New York has never been California like San Francisco where it's like liberals' paradise.
Well, people are saying that about LA right now. Everyone's
San Francisco's never been that either.
Yeah.
Isn't that what, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, isn't it?
No,
like,
not I mean no.
It's Libby's paradise. You like go there, I don't know.
Because San Francisco 1 is like if Manhattan, specifically Lower Manhattan, only were a city. Because like it's because
isn't Lower Manhattan like the most conservative part of New York City?
Yeah, well, kind of
the
not
Wall
in some
Street
ways,
crowd.
But like to that point, yes. Like San Francisco is
Staten
very
Island's dirty, isn't it? Rough.
San Francisco is very top heavy in that same kind of way with the wealth, but it's also San Francisco City and County is like 800,000 people because it like the Bay Area is not one city the way that.
I'm sorry, but you just missed this.
Yeah, I tried to turn my water glass over and I ended up spilling like half of it.
I'm sorry. I was watching Peaches trying to pour the water in his mouth, and he's like not watching himself do it. And so I just see basically this guy like holding this glass about a foot from his face, slowly turn it and just pour it all on the ground.
Okay, hold up. I gotta clarify.
You can defend yourself now.
Okay, I need to clarify the situation. I held it like by the top of, you know how you hold stuff by the top of the glass? And I was trying to get it like around under, but the glass went with it when I was trying to. It didn't really help my case.
It looked like you were trying to drink it, and then you were just like really far off.
It's also like, to be fair, I've also done that. So
you're giving me your in-depth analysis of San Fran. I'm sorry, Brett.
I don't.
It was a bad timing.
Anyway,
that's what I think of San Francisco.
Now that the Johnson & Johnson thing is out, basically they can just do the one and done. So they're actually just having people walk out and asking people on the street, like, have you been vaccinated? No. Do you want one? And they do it in 5 minutes. So I think they should just keep doing all of that basically.
Oh yeah, that happened to you at the Red Bulls game.
Yeah, although they were offering still the 2-shot ones. But yeah, we went to a Red Bulls game 2 weeks ago, and they're doing a clinic there, like they are at like a bunch of MLB stadiums too. And there were a bunch of nurses outside being like, "We've got extra. Does anyone want one?" And really trying to get people to take them. So yeah, I think. Well, so in Europe is the Schengen zone still a thing? Can you still go to Germany and Italy and whatever as you please?
So they have authority to like regulate their own borders, right? But it's like if you're shutting down your borders, you're restricting your borders. It's something nobody wants to do, and it's something that like isn't really like they're not okay with you doing it. Like it's very frowned on. So like all the neighboring countries of the Czech Republic are they're all recognizing each other's vaccinations. They're pretty much allowing free and open concourse between all the neighboring countries and the Czech Republic. But I think the EU is probably going to be like, it's going to be that way EU-wide in a week or two. They're still not doing it for vaccinated peoples in other countries because they don't have a method to verify the vaccination. They're kind of hoping that the EU green certificate, the EU...
Wait, what about the microchips?
Well, I mean, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking as Bill Gates' puppet.
Yeah,
as we all
right,
know.
immediate desire to buy Windows products upon getting vaccinated. Yeah,
Right. Hey,
I have
I
ordered a Microsoft Surface Book that
Weren't
day.
you kind of nervous when you got vaxxed? Like, weren't you kind of a little bit anxious? Like, it's this the thing that's only been around for a few months. I can understand some trepidation. I mean, there have been side effects, right? Like, you shouldn't get the AstraZeneca if you're below 60. Like, the Johnson & Johnson rollout has been a mess. I wouldn't get Johnson & Johnson personally.
I mean, I'm
the way
Pfizer
they've
gang.
managed the production.
Like, I don't fuck with Moderna gang, but I don't really think about Johnson
I understand why other people are nervous. Personally, I was not, but I definitely understand why other people.
It's
would
not a
be.
crazy thing to be like, shit,
No,
man.
I don't think that's irrational
Yeah.
at all. But
Which is why a lot of the people who are nervous starting out were healthcare people, and
Oh,
a lot of the reporting seems to say that they've come around as they've seen more of this.
I loved like talking to doctors because doctors were like, yeah, I got the shot yesterday before it was approved. And then like all the nurses I was talking to where it was like, I'm not going to get this shot if they hogtie me to a table and like inject it into my mouth. Like I met so many nurses who were just like not going to do it.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Doctors are also
People
separate from COVID. Even doctors, at least in America, are some of the most insane people in the country.
well, to become a doctor in general, you just have to be insane.
I'm pretty sure that guy that we knocked on the door in New Hampshire for Bernie.
I thought that was just going to be the end. I'm pretty sure that guy who we knocked.
Yeah, that guy who we knocked. We knocked on a door in New Hampshire for Bernie. And
don't edit that part out.
There was
why?
We don't want to be, this could be evidence.
No one thinks you guys are gay together.
No, I
no,
thought
I
we
was
were talking about violence.
Killing.
Oh, like you were hurting him.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
was
think,
thinking like, what?
What do you think knocking someone means?
Does it mean beating someone up?
It means killing someone.
What?
It doesn't really. It kind of just. I was kind of just inferring. It doesn't really mean anything.
I don't think it means any. I don't think it's slang at all.
Jacob, if you but like
I
if you
just
said
didn't. I just didn't assume it meant fuck.
right,
Well, that's where I was going with it.
All right.
but if I told you that I knocked someone, you would assume
Like you
that
knocked
I
them
fucked
up,
them.
like you had sex with them.
Knock them up.
Okay.
The preposition there is
I think,
very
I think,
operative.
I think you could pull people. If you
Reflexive
knock
verb.
somebody, it's going sexual over violence
Knock
80% of the time.
I think that's a you thing. We got to unpack this. Jacob.
knock them. I'd be like, I would ask if they're English or something. Like, you knock them, mate. You fucking knock me.
I suffer from a knock, bruv.
Proper knocks,
Oi,
mate.
bruv. He knocked me. He knocked me proper.
Proper knocked.
Absolute knocking, bruv.
Yeah.
So when you were knocking on doors for Bernie,
I'm pretty sure it was a doctor who was like, well, I'm thinking Bernie Sanders. I just don't know because he's not a doctor, and none of the other ones are doctors, but they want to tell me what to put in my body, and there's just no reason to do vaccines. And we're like, oh, okay, thank you, sir, bye. And I'm pretty sure he was a doctor. Doctors can be weirdos.
Doctors are all weirdos, I think. Because, like, in the U.S., to go on the doctor track, you have to be...
no,
like,
most doctors I've met have been like image conscious fucks who like want to appear very like impressive. Doctors are very
not
eager to
dispute
impress.
what we're
Yeah,
trying to
that
say.
that could overlap. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not disputing that at all. I mean, I like to become a doctor in the U.S., there are like two tracks you take, right? You either like do this insane academic like thing
Graduate from Juilliard,
Well, you have to
become
be-
filled with your parents' sense of disappointment at you, rigorously study for 2
Just-
years, nearly break into 2, continue going because life has no meaning.
No. You're
get
just
through 4
no.
years,
Jacob,
discover yourself adrift.
You're just,
So you
Jacob. You're just describing an Asian childhood, not the doctor.
you don't think
track.
that's the typical doctor track?
I mean, like they overlap sometimes, but it's
What's the Venn diagram between like
it's a lot-
Asian childhood and like becoming a doctor?
well, I mean, some of them become engineers.
I'm tapping out of this one. I just wanted to talk shit about doctors.
But like
Let's talk. Are we getting real? Okay, you go.
Well, no, I was just saying like the academic track to do that in the U.S. is insanely hard. Or you go to a different country and go to medical school there, and then you come back to the U.S. and become a doctor. So like either way, like you're doing something insane at some point before you become a doctor.
You were gonna talk some shit on doctors, Brett.
Oh, I already talked.
Oh,
my
you
shit on
talked.
doctors.
That's your full
what I was
quota of
saying,
shit on
yeah.
doctors.
Yeah.
This is all because I'm only saying this because for 2 weeks in college, I thought I'd be pre-med.
I would say the most normal doctors are all
You
the doctors.
brought it up a few times. Remember when Perul was gonna be computer science?
No, she. I don't think she even was going to be computer science. She took a couple computer science classes to like, be more like marketable or something, or like have good skills, which is not a bad idea. But my point at the time was like, bro, if you fucking hate doing it, what's the point in having it being like a marketable skill, right? Like, I don't want to do it as my job,
Right.
But
Because then you're going to be forced to do it like for real.
yeah. But I think she has it
The
more
joy
figured
of
out than I
learning.
do. So I don't know.
The joy
Perul
of
is-
accumulating knowledge.
Pearl is another one of our friends from college.
Perul's a friend from college.
That's someone who I ditched my Facebook, and I feel like that's a good example of someone that mostly my life has not changed, but that's someone who I probably would have reconnected with or gotten in the loop
She
with more.
she
if I had
messaged
kept
me
that.
to tell you that she's coming back to New York.
Yeah, there we go. See, like I when I was in San Francisco, I forgot I could have. I mean, it was COVID though, and the Bay Area, everyone was so strict that I didn't even meet up with Mesa when he was literally one town over. But whatever.
Perul and Brett are people I have been trying for about 10 years now to finally adopt and own their rightful heritage and like what they were meant to do to become novelists.
Oh,
I've been
Wow.
slowly pushing these two to.
Britt likes trains a little too much, I think, to write novels.
not exclusive.
You can write a
not
book
exclusive.
about
Lots of-
trains.
You
lots
could
of-
write a book on a train.
Look, I just think you guys, both of you, need to just settle down and just become poor writers like me.
Sure.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm just scared.
No, I'm just. Trying
I'm
to
not
think of
saying you,
more-
Peaches. You just keep doing what you're doing.
I'm trying to think of more. I'm trying to think of more train books now, and I'm just getting stuck on Murder on the
Closely
Orient
Watched Trains
Express.
is a Czech movie.
Oh, is it?
The little
Thomas
engine
the
that could.
Train.
Thomas. I mean, I guess
I
there
think
are
I
Thomas
can.
books.
I think I can.
Yeah,
That's
that's not even.
iconic.
That's
Not even a book. This is a folk tale, right? I
It's a-
guess it
no,
can't
it's
be
a
that
book.
old though.
It's a book.
It might as well be a folk
It's a
tale.
folk tale from ages of yore. They finally put it.
Right.
Finally wrote down.
It's
Like,
like,
who-
someone
you
recorded.
put two things next to each
It's
other.
a
It's like
book.
the Iliad and fucking Rainbow Fish.
Like no one knows who wrote that, right? Like it's
Thomas
just,
the
no,
Train.
it's a book. It's a children's book.
I
It
agree
just
with
sprung
you.
fresh out of someone's head like Athena.
Yeah, it was born of the sea foam. But
It's like the little engine that could. What the fuck is an engine?
you're right that it is a book, but I just mean by now it is metastasized in the culture so much that it's like I don't even.
It's like a Grimm's.
Yeah, it's like
fairy-
Grimm's fairy tales. Like who, like
I
the,
just
the
when you-
Bible is a fucking book, like
Well, we know the authors of the Bible.
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
I just imagine
Most
like
of the
someone
time.
coming upon a cave and like in like 800 AD and like discovering Thomas the Train Engine and just like what is
But
this?
yeah,
What is this black
Specifically-
magic fuckery?
specifically Thomas, like with the fucking face.
The gray face with the eyes.
It's painted in a cave.
There's a couple Mitchell and Webb sketches along these lines.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, that would be terrifying. Just like fucking.
Just like you go into a
Look like
cave and there's fucking Thomas's face like chiseled into the side of the wall.
Specifically Thomas, like
I think I can. I think I can.
born of the sea foam.
I think I can. I think I can.
Thomas, like Thomas, like
It's a book.
Thomas,
It's painted in a cave.
Thomas, like Thomas, like
What the fuck is an engine?
Thomas, like
It's a book.
That's actually what's inside the Great
I
Pyramid.
think that was a scene from Black Panther, actually.
That would be a great Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. Have they gone inside the Great Pyramid? Have they gone all like? I know they've gone through lots of pyramids.
I think they've set up. I think they were scared of the booby traps, right?
That's fair enough. Or just like at a certain point, I do agree with just like sort of holding out. Like there's those really really enormous like burial mound type things in Japan that are like in
Well,
a
we have
keyhole
burial mounds
shape.
in Ohio too.
That's true. And we don't respect them at all.
We don't.
Well, I guess
There's like the big
we've
snake one. We take
resuscitated
big
ones.
pictures of it.
Like, well, the first one I can remember is the ones like near St. Louis, right? Like the Cahokia ones. Is it like that?
Oh, I'm just thinking the ones in Ohio. I know there's like the Great Snake Burial Mound in
Yeah.
Ohio.
I just know in Japan they're like it's been locked up. Like they've got like artificial moats around them, and like no one's allowed to go onto them, and they're like completely forested over. But there's probably built stuff underneath, which I think is kind of cool. Although I think they did some like infrared imaging of them, but I don't actually even
That's
know if
cheating.
we've gone in. It sort of is cheating, you know. I don't know.
You gotta be a good old fashioned. You gotta have a good bullwhip and a hat, I think, to uncover stuff. Really,
That's true,
you know,
but I don't know.
it's Indiana Jones, is what I'm saying. Is that near the monkey park in Japan?
Oh, I don't know. That'd be a hell of a trip.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure one of these is just like in the middle of Kyoto, though. Like they're like in cities, I think now. But God, I wish I were one of those monkeys or a capybara.
A monkey.
They have the capybaras in Japan too,
Yeah.
but like you know,
We
like
gotta go to that Brazilian place.
Oh fuck
What's
yes.
a capybara?
Capybaras
It's
are
a
like
large rodent.
It's much cuter than that though. Like I don't know if you've seen like clips of like they're like
It's coming
big,
from a cat
really
guy, so.
chill.
Oh no
like,
no! These are
things,
like
and they're-
universally loved.
They're often like they love just hanging out in water. And like so like they'll be in like hot springs. Like in Japan there's one famous like sanctuary or zoo or something that just is hot springs and has just capybaras chilling there all day. And there's another the monkey park is like there's some rare they're like macaques, right? That's a
some
monkey,
kind of-
right? That's not a bird. Is that a bird?
Macaw is a bird.
Macaw is a bird.
So what? They have lots of monkeys in this part of Japan.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
just,
are
like,
also
running
chilling in
wild,
the hot
yeah.
springs, and they just like have a bunch of oranges.
That sounds
and
terrifying.
Not
Kind
if
of
you're
is.
not if you're a monkey though.
Yeah,
like I
that's
want
true.
to be the monkey.
You want to be a monkey running wild in Japan?
That sounds dope.
Near the hot springs, yeah.
Are you
Fuck
okay? Is everything okay, Brett?
Yeah, dude. This is
If
my
that's not okay, then I don't know what is, Jacob.
capybara chilling.
That's the dream.
Monkeys chilling. Also, one thing
I mean,
learned.
furries is a thing now. People are pretending to be furry animals,
Oh,
right?
it's been a thing.
It's
It's
this
been a
is
thing?
Decades.
Yeah.
late.
What?
I learned
Yeah.
about this
What
in middle
is this?
school,
What is
dude.
this thing?
Furries like
It's-
peaked at 2008, man.
Oh, it's like downhill because it's only now reached my consciousness.
I will say at the top, I cannot give you a detailed answer. I don't know full like I know in
Brett, we
broad
know-
strokes what it is, but
it would
like,
be like trying to describe not even one species,
Says the guy who
multiple
wants to be
species.
a monkey in Japan.
yeah, dude, it's just a vibe. It's called the vibe. I don't want
Okay.
to wear a monkey.
You
suit
don't want to
and
wear a
hang
monkey.
out
You don't
with
want to
other-
like glue some fur onto yourself.
No, very different,
Okay.
very different.
But
it's
the-
just a vibe.
the
You want the aesthetic of being a monkey in Japan.
No,
not
no,
the
no.
reality.
The
experience.
vibes.
The experience of just all his life is chilling in the hot tub with his friends and eating oranges.
the capybaras are so docile that they just like chill with crocodiles and shit. and,
Everyone
like,
loves
apex
them.
predators.
One
and they
thing I
don't-
learned recently
Yeah.
is that often zoos and other sort of animal enclosures, and then I guess barns as well, or like just ranches, will often keep donkeys around, specifically just as a social thing, because everyone loves donkeys. Like other animals love to chill with donkeys. The farm cats love it. The other animals, basically any hoofed animal loves chilling with them, which is why there's one I think at the Prospect Park Zoo, because all of the other hoofed animals are like, chill, my friend the donkey.
Well, they can't have sex.
Well, that's true. I don't.
No, those are mules.
It's like a girl having a gay friend, I imagine.
Donkeys definitely have sex because to make a
They're-
mule, you have to
no.
cross a horse. and
Oh,
a
that's
donkey.
right. Mules are the ones
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
are
mules are
infertile.
the ones that can't. Yeah.
So donkeys are just cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they fuck horses sometimes.
Yeah. Donkeys are just
Consensually,
popular.
of course.
Donkey
Yeah. But all of the
hangs out with an ogre too. You know, like everyone loves donkeys.
everyone loves donkeys.
Shrek, underrated movie.
Literally, the dragon, the evil dragon, came around to being with the
In
donkey. 'cause
love with
everyone
the
loves
donkey.
Oh wait, did
donkeys.
they did? That was weird.
No, it just makes sense. It's natural.
It's canon.
Interspecies shit.
It's canon.
I don't care if it's cute. Interspecies shit, even in a cartoon, freaks me out a little bit.
I mean, I think that's sort of the point in Shrek. I think they're kind of going for that.
It's kind of the shock. I think that it's kind of the shock
It's
irony of
transgressive, the
it.
transgressive work of art known as Shrek.
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, Shrek was way ahead of its time.
I actually think that Shrek has. I actually saw somebody tried to post like a troll column the other week, probably in the Guardian, saying like, "Oh, Shrek is actually overrated," because I do think now that our generation has grown up and achieved more cultural presence, like it's just taken as more obvious nowadays that Shrek was a perfect balance of hitting classic archetypes and themes, but also being subversive and being very funny. Very great, solid.
You know what I play one of my friends I play Valorant with. His username is Shrek, and every time we get into a lobby, someone just always comments on it and just like, look, this is our swamp now. You know.
You must have been early on to get Shrek.
Oh
right?
no, you could just like pick a username.
Oh, it doesn't
And it
have
just
to be
has like a
unique.
little tag at the end that's like unique to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like Shrek 99.
Yeah, it's like Shrek, and then it's like a hashtag NA44 or something. Like,
I see. Well,
So you don't think New York's just one culture?
no, I don't.
what a segue!
No, I respect it.
Breakfast
though.
is hell.
I respect it though. We were saying this before we pressed play. Yeah,
We said a lot of things before I press play. So we gotta.
Well, you saved your take, I feel like, for this. I don't even know your take.
Yeah, Britt was
I
really
guess-
hot on this and would not talk about this over breakfast. 'cause-
Well, I don't know. It also depends. It's sort of in reaction to what you're saying. So like one, obviously there's multiple cultures in New York, but also I think specifically maybe what we're thinking is like among our milieu, right? Like 20, 30-year-olds, like college educated, I guess. Like like I think even among that group, there is definitely not just like one scene. I mean, hell, I've got one of my best friends from high school lives in New York now, and I admittedly sometimes forget it because he just like went to Columbia Law School and lives in Midtown and works at a big law firm, and it's like he lives in a different city to me right now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like the beginning of that.
I don't know.
Actually,
There might-
I owe him a text. He texted me about something the other day, and
there might
forgot
be
to
two
respond.
cultures in New York. There might be professional, high-performing
Does he want to play golf with us?
20s and 30-year-olds
He'll probably beat us.
who are slightly liberal, and then kind of figuring it out 20s and 30s-year-olds.
Jacob, you have to be
Slightly
careful with the
liberal
word
in New York.
liberal now.
What?
You have
That's
to be,
true,
you have
yeah.
to be careful with the word liberal now, because liberalism, I think, is reverted back to meaning like classical liberalism again.
That's true.
What?
At least among our crowd, for
Right.
instance.
Like we're progressives, for example.
Well,
Right?
no,
Like,
it's socialists.
yeah, okay, like, but like more,
Peaches was advocating, the first thing when I got in here, Peaches started advocating for the rise of communism.
No, I was advocating
Yeah.
for the. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess like technically advocating for the rights of workers to own their means of production is that, but
That's true.
Well, we can own stock.
Not the same. It's not the means of production.
right.
So you're full on socialist. Like,
Yes.
socialism.
Card-carrying member. Actually, I need to renew my membership.
I do have my. Oh yeah, where did my card go? We are both. Yes, we're.
Look, doesn't it tell you something that the world has risen out of poverty at such an extreme rate in the 20th century thanks to...
Communism, yes.
No, communism...
Thanks to the advances of the Soviet Union
And China?
Yes.
Yeah, China's-
Are you gonna be pro-Soviet
Yes.
revisionist?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
The endless suffering caused by Stalin, the widespread
def-
food shortages,
of
the
The
instability.
the upheaval of a feudal.
You sound like Jean-Paul
ser-
Sartre in the 50s before everyone realized what a shithole the USSR
yeah,
was.
before
we
all
sound
this
cool. That's what you're saying.
All this Trotskyist friend. I actually don't remember. I'm joking. I don't remember what the specifics of certain his friends and all that shit was. But basically a feudal society still reeling from serfdom, going through 30 to 40 years of constant war, not only World War I, but also the Civil War, the West invading Russia on behalf of the whites. After that, going
Wait, the West invading Russia on behalf of the whites?
the White Army. So-
Okay, I thought like you were gonna be like, yeah, white people are just like decided we were all gonna invade Russia.
Oh no, yeah, we're going.
Okay.
This is taking a
Okay,
Hotep direction.
like white's the technical term.
Slavs are
Yeah.
actually the Yakubian devils. The White Army, and then look, I don't like Stalin, but like the
does?
defeat of the Nazis, like the incredible sacrifice, and then taking that and going from basically a feudal society to being the first.
But they were
society
already
on-
undergoing reforms. They tried to reform the government in the late 1800s, and it failed, and it collapsed in on itself.
Which makes it even more impressive what the Soviet Union
that
was
communism,
able to do.
that a dictatorship taking on the moniker of communism rose up and
I think-
violently
so-
subjugated
but,
the
like,
people
I think
into
that-
a reversion.
so-
like Stalin is nothing else but another Tsar.
No, but he-
Stalin is a reversion into the old feudal system.
But that's not,
the centralization of like the power was not, and I think is a symptom of the constant state of war and paranoia that was bred by, in large part, Western interference in the Russian Revolution. But in terms of the question of like planned versus and rapid industrialization, and whether the way of organizing economy, like the idea that capitalism is responsible for the rapid growth of
Absolutely.
in the world is on its face false.
Capitalism
'Cause-
is absolutely responsible for the
No.
lifting out of much of the world's population out of poverty in the 20th century.
Well, no. Here's the problem with that though. Is also like the way that we define poverty.
Jordan Peterson would agree with me.
I mean, yeah,
There you go.
well, yeah, exactly.
Case in
That's
point.
A man who almost died because he only ate meat.
A man who's in a coma because his daughter is torturing him with a meat fetish and he's no longer has a functioning
He's
brain.
just like beyond addicted to benzos.
yeah. And a Canadian. What's more?
But here's like the I think the like most concise way I've heard about like the argument is just like people who complain about breadlines means that someone was feeding someone, whereas like like in
So the United States, if you look at the United
Starvation.
States from 1850 to 1940, if you want to do one of these hokey counting ups of misery and all that stuff, like there's just this the idea that was naturally occurring and not a systematic or ideological product is ridiculous.
What?
That like all the misery of the Industrial Revolution in the United States and the West.
Well, I'm not arguing for completely unregulated capitalism.
But yeah,
I think that's more the misfortune of unregulated capitalism rather than capitalism
that's just
itself.
capitalism. That's just it.
What?
Honestly, this is less fun talking about. I don't.
No, you're finally getting excited.
I don't.
You don't want to talk about capitalism.
We've got like 30 minutes. I'm
I'll
not
get
gonna
as long as
change
it
your
takes.
mind.
Jacob, here's the thing though.
It's
Like
just-
the biggest problem with
exhaust you?
the biggest problem with the way that people talk about people getting risen out of poverty is the way that we define poverty. People are still suffering if they're not in poverty. It's like what, you make more than $1 a day and you're out of poverty?
You got enough to eat. Not having enough to eat or clothe yourself is poverty.
People in the U.S. starve. That
Brett-
should not happen
Brett,
with
what's
the amount of
bothering you?
wealth that there is.
This is not.
Well, it's just like a very like trodden, like this is a subject that has been like trodden over hundreds of times. There's like plenty of arguments against it, and just like it's one of those, or like not even like against it, but just like the parallels and the logic that are used to make these arguments are not.
See, don't
Good.
you feel
Also,
like
what's more, the rise of the Soviet Union and China is an indispensable part of the liberation of Africa and Asia from colonial rule.
But-
it doesn't happen without it. So, like the liberation of more than half the world.
Well,
is
right. There's
also
no
a
need to
product-
only have like hegemony. Like that's about hegemony, not about economics.
And American capitalist liberal hegemony was bad for the world, and the rise out of
Hegemony creates the possibility of colonialism.
the colonialism is it. What I don't know. I can we talk about breakfast instead? This is I just know for a fact that we could go on for 2 hours, and I know like this is the first time I've seen you in 2 years, and I just like.
Hold on, I just want to make 2 points. One, don't you feel like the 1950s of the rapid and like maybe the greatest 10 years of economic expansion in world history in the United States is an argument in favor of regulated capitalism, one, and then two, isn't China's inability to feed its own people until it adopts some of the principles of the free market an also incredibly strong argument in favor of capitalism?
No, because 1950s Soviet Union is doing more impressive things in the advances of crawling out of Stalinization.
And they had a higher caloric diet than
without
the
an
US did.
apartheid state. 1950s United States
ate
is an
potatoes.
apartheid.
Potatoes have lots of
1950 United
calories.
States is not a democracy. 1950 United States is not a democracy.
Whoa,
It's a
what?
Black people could not vote in 1950s United States. There was formal apartheid in the 1950s United States. It was an apartheid state in the 1950s. You can't dispute that.
black people had still advances to be made, but I wouldn't call it a formal apartheid. That's
Jim Crow was
too
formal
much.
apartheid. The United States was not a democracy. The USSR was.
It was an imperfect democracy.
Okay.
It's still not a democracy, though.
It's still really not a democracy.
It's a federal system.
But like
it's not a
federal
Fenian democracy. We don't directly elect, directly vote on every law.
I do want to move on, but just to that point, no. Like I think that's a good encapsulation of no. That's the
What
propaganda.
do you have against JP? See, I
JP?
still like Jordan Peterson, but
Dude, he's a clown. He's
a clown?
He's a fool. He's
he's a good he's a good sociologist.
misogynist, but also just like it's ridiculous. Like he's just stupid. Like he's just like
Okay, so all people who do self-help stuff.
His self-help stuff is replacement level, but his sociology is not bad.
No, it's the opposite. That's like the only thing that he's good for is his self-help stuff, and it's like
I didn't even.
I think, in my opinion, like Jordan Peterson, everything. Look, and anyone who does self-help stuff is a fucking fraud, right? Like we can admit that.
What's wrong with self-help stuff? People need help.
People who sell it?
It's
Like get your shit
telling
together, clean your room,
Yeah,
and
like-
develop a sense of responsibility for
You don't-
yourself
you're
is
not-
a positive message.
It's a positive message, but you're not like adding value. Everyone knows that you should clean your fucking
But
room.
having someone tell you need to do it helps people.
I mean, you had a mom at one point, or like.
Yeah, maybe people just need a mom again.
But like that kind of stuff, yeah. Like you help organize your life, you get your stuff together. But what happens from that Jordan Peterson specifically does is he molds that to this kind of like reactionary ideology against the cultural Marxists, using like fallacies and
It's just
logical inconsistency.
amateur
and-
cultural criticism.
Right.
too.
I wouldn't call
And
it
it's just like
amateur.
essentialization without
Like,
any
It's not.
tact or nuance.
doesn't-
Hierarchies naturally occur in
It's like
societies.
Jungian.
But it's not
you can't just say
true.
that. You can't just you have to argue if that's not true. Like
Also,
It's
where
not?
does that come
No.
from? Where does that where does that argument come from? Like the idea
Hierarchies?
of pack animals, right?
There are people who are better at things than other people.
No, but like the
And there are
natural-
certain skills which are more valuable, and so the people or creatures which are better at the more valuable skills naturally have more power in the social system.
No, but
no,
like,
I
but
don't
that
know.
idea, like,
or at least have a higher probability of developing power and influence in that social
the
system.
idea of a natural path from that derives from this like fake thing that a bunch of like ecologists and biologists used to make about pack animals, right? About like the idea of like there being an alpha male and stuff like that, when that doesn't even exist in wolf societies.
that's true.
I don't know why. Why are we
eventually-
talking about alpha male? I'm not talking about alpha male.
You brought up Jordan
Because
Peterson.
hierarchies,
You
yeah,
brought up-
that's where it
Yeah,
comes
hierarchies.
You just said hierarchies are naturally occurring in society.
They
which
are.
is basically
Like the
alpha
alpha
male.
Hierarchies are
beta.
natural. You will never have a utopian society. Didn't not Hemingway? Didn't Dostoevsky warn you of utopian thinking? Haven't you read your Dostoevsky?
We're not even talking about utopian thing.
You
We're
guys
just talking
need-
about
you guys
like
need to
basic
read your
humanity.
Dostoevsky.
I don't.
Dostoevsky was written for people like you.
Well, I admittedly have not been reading my Dostoevsky. You're right.
Take
but
your vitamin D or read your Dostoevsky.
It's amateur media criticism. He doesn't seem to actually understand what any of the postmodern stuff he critiques actually, like what the historiography or what it actually, the arguments actually are. The natural, like the social Darwinism is bunk.
I don't think. How can you call it bunk? I'm sitting
It
over
is
here
bunk.
like in a society, in any closed group, right, of any creature, there's going to be certain traits which are preferable, which are either necessary for evolution or desired by the group.
That's
Not-
not.
And
not-
those which
not
possess
true.
No,
them
no, no.
are better at those skills are going to have more influence and power in that society.
Jacob, the
And
very
that's a hierarchy.
Jacob, the very nature of human
You
society.
can't argue against the existence of hierarchies.
No,
Yes, you can.
Yes, yeah,
And many
Jacob.
people
hierarchies
do.
are not an artificial construct.
Yes, they are.
I mean,
They
it's
by
No one
definition
imposed
are.
a hierarchy
Also,
onto you.
specifically.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
they did.
How?
Yeah, they did through school, through family structure, through capitalism, through labor relations. Like the fact that we have to sell our labor in order to survive, and that other people don't,
And
The
steal
fact
it from us?
People that have gender roles
Do you
taught
feel
to
like
them
you're
from a young
maltreated
age.
as a working member of society?
Yeah.
By definition, if there's profit involved, yeah.
Yeah, we all.
You
are.
feel like you're exploited anytime there's profit.
Because profit
Yeah,
is
because
like
you're
by the
having-
labor theory of value, it's theft. Yeah.
You're having
How?
your
you
full
produce
productivity
goods
taken
and or
away
services,
for you.
and then you are rewarded
Okay,
monetarily
Jacob, let's-
for it.
You're not
let's
given
break-
the full value of what you're producing.
Giving to
Right,
the
that's profit. That goes to the person who owns the means of production.
Yeah,
who
and
took
that's-
the
that-
risk to
which-
establish the business.
that is
No, but that's
that is
just-
not that is not.
You
rela-
have the
in
same
relation to the
opportunity to
labor
create
that
a
they did.
business and
no, we
take
don't
on the
because
risk.
they
No, you
don't
don't,
own-
because
because
you
we
don't have
own the
capital.
we don't have the social relations. with the networks of capital that recycle
Jacob,
it and reinvest
all the stuff
it.
you're talking about that you want us to do, we would do.
victimizing
No,
yourself.
No,
Why?
shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. And here, all the stuff you're telling us to do, we can't do because of all the stuff you're talking about. Like, if I wanted to go ahead and just like, take photography and make music and like do all these things that I want to do,
You can do them.
I can't because I don't have capital to own my production.
And don't have the social. And capital is not only
No one's
the
making
literal,
you not take pictures, man. You can go buy a camera
No, it's not.
How do I buy a camera?
But it's
for
not
like
only
$10 at the store.
No. How do I buy a camera?
You don't have to
can't-
have
you
like a
can't- you can't be
$30,000
attendant.
camera.
But capital is not only the literal wealth. A lot of it is the literal wealth that gets invested. It is the social relations of the networks of how you invest capital and when you choose to realize it and when you're able to recycle it. Specifically, so for like if taking a photo, having the social relations with publishers or with people in the industry and being able to get work is a specific social relation between boss and worker that is specific to that mode of production.
Yeah,
Even if Peaches if he found a $30,000 camera on the street tomorrow, he would still need to form that kind of relationship with someone who owns the means of production, of publishing photos, of circulating in the industry, and that is the imbalance between that. And that any photos he took would be the control over how they get entered into the industry, how they get treated, how they get disseminated would not be at his own hands, even though he created the photo. So that's like the nut of the issue. It's also a social relation, not just the literal wealth or MCM transaction.
I get it without huge amounts of capital or without significant social networks. Maybe Peaches wouldn't win a Grammy for his music. Doesn't mean he can't make music. Doesn't mean his music won't be recognized eventually for the masterpiece it is.
I mean, oftentimes
you've heard
it
of
does
Robert
mean
Johnson. Like Robert Johnson rises to the top. Skip James rises to the
Wait,
top.
isn't that the mythical guy who died in poverty because he was living in an apartheid American South and died without being known in his own time? It seems like the exact opposite example.
What?
Is it?
You're saying it's impossible for Peaches to like create his art, but I'm saying
It's not impossible, but
creation
it's
of
not-
art is possible in any circumstances.
That's not always-
Like,
No,
Like,
that's not always-
I'm
that's not
arguing
true.
against your self-victimization. Like, oh, I can't do the things I want to
No,
do.
no, it's not
No,
self-
you can. You may not get
Jacob.
a Grammy for them, but you can still do
Jacob,
them.
it's not. Like, you're. I think you're labeling this an entirely.
I think the self-victimization
It's not a s-
mania in the liberal cultures is something which I think is very toxic.
It's not. No. It's not self-victimization. It's a realization of.
I'm a victim of the social environment. I'm a victim of.
Are you-
No,
but-
it's a lot
I'm
of
a
people
victim
literally can't do it
of-
because they're busy working to survive, and that takes up their time and effort.
Right, so you
that
just
they
gotta
would
work
other-
harder.
That,
you gotta work smarter.
Okay,
You'll
I'll-
never
Or you gotta live on
escape.
less.
I'll tell that to the people working 2 or 3 jobs and still swimming in debt, and people who are having
Don't be
back
stupid.
problems and feet problems for being on their feet all day from bussing and waiting tables, and people who have work injuries from working at Amazon and not being allowed to pee on their own time. Like, no, it's just not reality. That's not reality. Like, that's just
That
not.
what?
That
That
like,
people can just
it
work
is-
harder and get enough
that
to
you can just like work so
escape
much
the
that you can
system.
just start taking photos, and that like, yeah, maybe you won't get an award for it, but like you can still make art. That's just not true when people right now are often working 18-hour days and still coming out in the red, like
And-
driving for Uber, working for Amazon, delivering meals. It's just like not how people are currently living.
And on
right
top
now.
of that, the bigger issue that we're trying to just say is that like the people who do gain from this aren't those people who are working.
like
They're-
admittedly, you're looking at me and Peaches who are in a slightly more comfortable position. We're not
You're talking to someone who works and you're talking to someone who works and gets farther in the red. So
yeah.
like you're talking, the way you're talking is you're talking about people like me, and it's funny that like you're not. I'm in that situation and I am arguing against the point you're trying to make.
Well, I mean that's kind of like the grand irony in general of this entire situation.
yeah, that it's
isn't
a
it?
rigged game.
What have I
Yeah.
been? Have I been brainwashed by the powers that be?
Everyone
into
has,
into
to
my
some
extent.
oppressors?
A little bit, yes, yeah.
You
to
think
be
so?
honest. Yeah.
Anyone who listens
And, like,
to Jordan Peterson,
yeah,
is,
Jordan
like,
Peterson,
is
but
like
also,
exactly that.
I mean, Peaches and I both went to public school in the United States as well, and we're
But
familiar.
when you say your public schools were nice public schools,
yeah,
so let's not try to make you guys. You got
Not really.
People,
Jacob,
mean,
I grew
they're
up
middle of the road.
I grew up in suburban New Jersey. Like,
but
it's like,
but
it's nice.
I
but
bring
it's
that
not
up
like,
though to say that the stuff you're saying about history education is familiar to us as common, like U.S. history
don't-
propaganda.
Britt,
it
I'm happy to
perfectly
have
is.
a discussion over ideas, but don't start saying that like I'm just regurgitating the stuff I've been indoctrinated with. You know me well enough to know me as a critical enough thinker and as a wide enough reader. My opinions are well considered and well read.
I think it is, you
And are
know,
honestly
maybe
held.
you've evaluated and considered and you've reproduced the same, like, dominant
Dude,
hegemonic
I almost
ideas
think
in the
that's
West.
almost insulting.
I mean, I'm sorry, but like,
Just because I don't believe what you believe doesn't mean I'm indoctrinated.
I mean, look, you can call me indoctrinated, and I don't care.
I'm not
'cause
calling you indoctrinated.
If you
I'm
did, I
just
wouldn't
talking
care
to you
because
about
you're right. I
ideas.
do have an ideology, and you have an ideology.
I don't think
but
I
also,
have an ideology.
But you do.
But everyone does.
No, I don't.
You do. You're talking about Jordan Peterson here. You're talking about the capitalism being the fact. Okay, when you're saying that,
I don't
like,
have any idea. I'm happy to convert
no.
to. If you convince me communism's correct, I'm happy to
you
convert to communism.
already have an ideology because this
don't.
this point that you've
I'm-
articulated about hierarchies being natural, that is an ideology. That is an ideology.
I just think that's the truth.
Okay, there you go.
The fact that you
But
think
that
it's a
doesn't make it
fact
an
is an
ideology.
ideology.
Like,
It is an
I just,
ideology.
like,
It's a
through
systematic
reasoning
way of
and
thinking.
Through reasoning and thought, I come to believe that that's the truth.
This is ideology.
No, ideology is like an
ideology.
agenda. I don't
No,
have an
you
agenda.
You have
This
an
is just-
organized series of beliefs, an organized belief system
No, I
of
don't
how
have.
to
I don't
analyze
have an
the world.
organized belief system.
You do.
I do not.
Jacob-
You believe hierarchy is a natural
That's
organization.
an idea.
No, that is a
That's a
way of
concept.
understanding the world and
world.
society and
No,
politics
it's
and
not
culture.
like a
that-
religion. You're treating it like it's Catholicism or something.
I think you do treat it like a
Jacob,
religion,
also, it's not
basically.
about the severity of which you believe these things. It's just the fact that you're using these ideas as a lens to view the world.
I
Also,
just think that's
Jacob,
the truth.
like,
I think it's
as well,
an
like-
accurate way of describing
There's
the world
no,
I've
but like,
seen.
Jacob,
It's
if
not
you're
the lens through which I see the
that is
world.
that
It
is
is the description
another
of
way
the
of
world I
describing
have
ideology.
perceived. What?
Also, Jacob, like, Jordan Peterson is vile. Like you walking in
Vile.
being like, what is like, and he does have an ideology.
Damn.
Like, so, like, if you're getting mad at us, like, being
I'm not
implicit,
mad. I'm
or
not-
if you're saying that we're
I'm
like
insulted by the
insulting you,
insinuation that
like
I'm
you
a propaganda
you being
toter.
into Jordan Peterson is like insulting and bad. Like
It's
you
insulting
need,
to you.
It is, and but you know, I
I'm
knew
thinking
this was
to it,
something
how am I
about.
insulting you?
Well, because it's just like it's kind of I don't like kind of being friends with someone who's into that because like
Damn.
it's really nasty stuff and like I kind of was hoping that you'd maybe grown out of it a little bit and since the last time I saw you, but like it's really nasty stuff. It's really not very sophisticated. It's just dripping in misogyny, and it's the whole social hierarchy or like natural hierarchy thing is bunk. It's not supported really by sociological thinking. It's not supported by actually like the hard science evolutionary biology or psychology very well either. And it's also just not a very interesting way of approaching the world, I think, either. I think it's really not interesting, and I'd love to talk about breakfast.
Okay, yeah, I can see if I've upset you a bit. I'm happy to be your guys' friend.
I'm fine.
No
I'm
matter
just
what
telling
you. Guys
you.
believe.
I'm just telling you that there's
So-
only more of this down this path.
No,
Like,
but here,
you know.
that's
No, I
also,
mean, we
that's
can-
also a
I
thing,
just-
Jacob.
look-
Like, if you're going to be friends with someone no matter what they believe, that's like, I don't know. That's not like, I don't think that because, some people are fascists or
Yeah,
some
'cause,
people.
like Jordan
If you guys
Peterson
became
and
fascist, you would still be my friends. I would
That's-
disagree with
if
your
you be- if
fascism,
that
but you
means
would
that
still
you're
be
a
my
fascist
friends.
sympathizer.
if you became a fascist, I would not be your friend
Yeah.
anymore. I'm
You
telling
would
you that right.
reject me
Yes.
as someone you knew.
because
Yes,
you're
I would.
dangerous to society.
If I ended up, let's not even make it about fascism. I'm a rapist, and I'm a cokehead on the street.
I would
Like,
also no longer
You're not,
not
gonna,
be
you're
your
not
friend.
gonna be there to help me out.
I would try
Isn't
to
that
escort
like-
you to some resources, but if you are a unrepentant or like just like a rapist and like I would no longer be friends with you.
That's also one of those points where I don't believe that you should like freely be around in society. If you're an unrepentant rapist, you should not be walking around freely.
Well, no, they
yeah.
usually put people like that in jail.
Yeah.
Do they?
They try to.
Well, I mean, do they?
But like Jordan Peterson and his Oak also like they like, for instance, Jacob, they like think my partner as a non-binary person like is not really a person. Like they don't believe in their personhood. Like they think that like they like that gender is like stupid lib bullshit, and that like gender affirming stuff should not exist, and that like it's all just like stupid triggered bullshit. So like it is personal a little bit to like with this Jordan Peterson.
Okay, so
shit.
there's getting kind of the root at why you're so upset about this.
That's
We
not
can
the
talk
only
about
reason,
something
but
else.
it's example. But it is
Okay.
it is real
It's
that
part
like
of it.
Jordan Peterson is like that kind of thing, has real circumstances that does like real shitty things to real people. And like so it's not just like, oh, I really thought about it one day and I think it's not ideological. Like no, it's like it is like it is Jordan Peterson fucking sucks, and like you should really look into like moving away from that kind of stuff, because like it's bad and
Toxic.
it's also like stupid.
Misogynistic.
It's like it's stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
don't know.
bad.
Also, like, I think that the idea that, or like what when you said before, like you think that you're a person without ideology, I think is
Solipsistic.
naive. Yeah, I think it's something that is naive, because if
Yeah.
you like, everyone believes in some kind of systems at work and some kind of structures. Like obviously we believe in kind of like these labor values and things like that. Like to say that you're devoid of ideology is, I think, like being deliberately ignorant to some extent.
Yeah, and I think this is also, you know, one of the characteristic marks of arguably the neoliberal hegemony. Although, you know, I know people say neoliberal a lot, but like really the characteristic thing is like the end of history thing, the idea that ideology is over, right? And that like now we're just doing sober analysis of the facts. 20, 30, 40 years into this movement, though, we can see that is an ideological tenet of a movement itself. It is trying to believe that history is over and that there is no ideology more is an ideology of itself. It is a key feature of neoliberalism.
It's a much more worthwhile venture for you to go and identify and examine what your personal ideology is and how it affects other people than trying to rid yourself of ideology entirely.
So I would like to respond to that was, thank you guys for that thought. So my take on it is, I don't think I'm a fanboy of anyone. I think for myself and reason through things. I like some of Jordan Peterson's sociology. I feel like we had substantive talk on like some of the points of whether hierarchies exist, whether communism or regulated capitalism is responsible for lifting people out of poverty in the 20th century. I don't think those are unsubstantive debates. I'm not quite sure the sweeping generalization of me as unintellectual or as coming in here with an agenda is fair. But that being said, maybe we should just move on to something else, because I'm not sure we're going to get any further down that train.
Sure. Well, I mean, like,
Right,
I just want to say one thing.
Okay.
It's just like, I think to say that you don't have an agenda is like, I don't know. Like, it's just, everyone has an agenda, dude.
I
right?
want to be a
Like,
capybara.
yeah, Brit wants to be a monkey.
I'm just trying to
But, like,
grill, for God's sake.
Everyone has an agenda. I don't like to think that you don't have one is like limiting yourself in a way of not like having that realization. Like the things that you're even talking about, just like, hey, how do we all progress? Like, you have to, like, all of that requires like self-reflection and some humility in that. You know, I think that it is hubristic to think that you're devoid of ideology or agenda, because that means you're not looking internally to what you are thinking about. And those things,
I do not think our existences are determined by systems. I think they're largely individual pursuits.
which is an ideology.
Yeah,
That's just an
well
intellect.
put.
Like,
That is
what's the difference
ideology.
between an intellectual conviction and an ideology?
They're
So I
very,
feel like
they're
an
very
I-
similar.
Yeah.
Very
I feel
similar.
like an ideology is like, this is the truth and I'm going to come to believe it. And a belief is, I observe something and this is the truth which I believe explains it.
No,
I
ideology.
believe that they're different in that way.
No, ideology.
I
isn't
really want to
exactly
move
the same
past
as
this
dogma.
because
All right, yeah.
I know how this is going to go. You know, it's like when you're making out with somebody and she keeps telling you no, but then she puts your hand on her tit. It just kind of keeps escalating.
What?
You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
No.
no, we should stop, and then it keeps going a little bit further and further. No, we should stop. It goes a little bit further and further.
No.
And pretty soon we're all just gonna be naked, and then we're gonna
sounds-
like commit a sin, and we're gonna have to go to confession.
That one actually sounds a little.
That sounds bad, man.
Yeah.
So you understand my analogy?
No.
No?
No, that
No,
sounds
if,
like
if
assault.
someone says we should stop,
Maybe
you stop.
forget the stop part. Forget the stop. Like, it's like a mutual thing, not like someone saying, "Oh, please stop." It's like two people making out like, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing this." It
And
goes a little bit
then-
further. Goes a
No,
little
but
bit
you
further.
that's when you stop, when you say we shouldn't be doing this.
You weren't ever in junior high.
I never made
Not
out
like
with
you're
anyone in
forcing
junior
yourself
high.
on someone, but we're like it's kind of like a mutual like we should stop, and then you keep going.
No,
No,
in
no.
middle school, if I was making out with someone, I just kept making out with them for a long time. We weren't Catholic.
See, maybe that's more the Catholic circle where it's like we
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing
Yeah,
this.
that's a Catholic
and then you
guilt thing
keep
for
getting
sure.
drugged down farther the.
Which helps
maelstrom of-
explain kind of like the Catholic issue with like assault and stuff.
Jesus, I'm not a what?
Not you. I'm just saying in general.
You understand the analogy I'm trying to
I understand
make.
it more now. It's
Yeah.
a little dicey, particularly the way you introduced it.
I
It's
know.
very-
When I
brought it
introduced
up.
it, as soon as it
Very
came out of my
dicey.
mouth, I was like,
Very-
Yeah, as
That's
soon as
not
you-
what I-
as
that's not
soon
what I
as
was
you-
trying to say.
Right. No, I got that you weren't trying to create a rape scene, but like
no,
that's...
no. I seldom, if ever, am trying to create a rape scene.
That can be the teaser line.
Britt, you wanted to catch up after 2 years, so what were the things what were you trying to talk about, man? I'm sorry to get you
know.
into
No,
get
I
you
mean,
down a road you didn't want to go down.
No, I'm down to go on it, but I agree with what you were just saying that it's just
gonna be unproductive.
I don't think we should go further down that road.
We'll go
I don't
on
have
for
enough
4
time
hours.
here with you guys.
It was
And
just, yeah, like,
Yeah,
I don't
if you
mind.
want to talk about this,
hey,
I'm
if you
open
ever
to
want to
that.
come back on
Like-
the Breakfast is Hell podcast, we can set up a topic.
Yeah.
And
Do you want me
stick
to? I could
it.
do like I'll research and put a breakdown of all like the problematic points of Jordan Peterson.
I think
for
we
you.
should.
There are a lot of resources out
I'm
there
not
already
trying to
for that.
defend like Jordan Peterson, the man. I like some of his ideas. In
No, his ideas are
sociology.
worse than the man.
Yeah.
That's the
I would
whole
say.
thing.
But we're also,
Guys,
I
I'm
would
trying.
agree. Let's move
we
on. let's
we
move
were
on.
like
Okay,
this couple
okay.
I described. Oh, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop. Shit!
Please.
Why are your hands on my pants? Like,
Please leave this analogy behind too. I don't relate to it. I don't get it. It makes me uncomfortable. This one does make me uncomfortable. I wasn't uncomfortable talking
breakfast
about
is
communism.
hell.
But what if
So, what's your favorite breakfast food?
what is your favorite?
Oh
breakfast
Jesus!
food?
What? I don't know. What else? Mine.
Yeah,
I just like coffee.
That's
not food. It's a drink.
It's not-
It's the food of the soul.
okay.
it's the drink of the soul.
Jacob, who you been reading recently? You mentioned novels. I will tell you straight up right now so you can get your disappointment out of the way. I've been bad. I've not been doing any fiction reading or anything recently. But what have you been up to?
Nonfiction. What have I been reading? I read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter and Joseph Andrews this spring, and I'm right now on John Updike's third Rabbit novel. That's been my reading recently.
Nice. I haven't read Updike. What's it like? Are you an Updike fan in general?
The sexual analogies have something to do with my reading Updike at the moment.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
Updike
as
likes
someone-
to write about sex.
As like as someone who's a little more foreign.
Updike is like, how do I put this? Someone said like, look, when a novelist describes a woman's vagina like a velvet ballet slipper, you know the sexual revolution has been won. And that's a direct line from one of Updike's novels. The description of a vagina as a velvet ballet slipper comes from one of his novels.
Velvet ballet slipper. Ballet slipper is interesting because
So
Yeah.
would you?
it's kind of
Is
like
the idea that you're putting your cock in the slipper.
Or is it like
You could just say velvet something else and okay, sure, whatever. But ballet slipper and like, because a slipper like a ballet slipper, I mean, it's
got a wide opening?
I've
but it's
never,
also-
I haven't
it's like
really thought that hard
it has
to
a
the
soul.
analogy.
Like part of
Yeah.
it's particularly baffling. I do
I
think
guess it does literally have a soul.
Also, like ballet
yeah.
slippers are like kind of beaten up, and
It's kind of fun. Maybe that might be part of it.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know.
also an interesting thing where, like in Madame Bovary, there's a scene where she's like looking at a beaten up ballet slipper or an old slipper she has, and it's like a velvet slipper and it's pretty beat up and it kind of resembles her. So there's maybe it's not intentional on Updike's part, but maybe it is. It's like
Could be.
it's kind of a more explicit declaration of something that Flaubert was already doing in Madame Bovary.
Flaubert did like his smutty objects. Hey, I'm not above smutty literature. I think I had a big Roberto Bolaño phase that I kind of petered out halfway through.
I wouldn't call Updike smutty, but he's definitely like, and actually this third book is less smutty than the first two have been in the series, but they're each kind of like a take on the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like in America. And I would think the best one I've read so far was the second, Rabbit Rideau, because there's like, he basically puts a cult leader, a hippie, person growing up in the 60s, and an old conservative from the 50s all in a house locked together, and then just like, that's the novel. and it's almost like very I don't want to say Faulkner-ish, but it's kind of. It's Updike doesn't do it very much. Usually his characters are very their self, like they represent something bigger, but they're also themselves. There's something very
Allegorical.
there's something very allegorical about it, yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And eventually the house that they're living in burns down. Like the hippie ends up dead, the kid ends up traumatized, the cult leader ends up on the run. Like the conservative ends up like lost without a house, forced to go back to his old life. Like it's very allegorical,
I see.
but also like an interesting personal narrative, and several scenes of like striking intensity.
What analogy would you use to describe a vagina?
Me?
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot in the hot seat
How
right
I write,
now.
I'd probably just call it a vagina.
Or a simile.
But like, if you want to be artful about it.
Well, it's telling. You say you just call it one.
Vagina.
Just call it what it
Fair
is.
enough.
Yeah. I'd
Gosh.
probably not use a personal pronoun. I'd probably just have a sentence fragment. Just took off
I've
clothes.
Never
Just
thought about that.
vagina,
vagina,
period.
Just ellipsis. Just socks, vagina.
What is
light.
clitoris?
This does actually ring a bell now that I do think that it was Updike. Like that, every once in a while, it's like a genre of tweet where people like take a picture, take a clipping of particularly bad sex in books. And I think Updike's made one or two of those.
Well,
So
he
maybe-
does it so much. Like
Yeah.
you can't bat 1,000. If you take 1,000 swings, like you're gonna miss some.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, but this conversation's reminding me of when we went to that triple header where we watched War Horse and
Oh,
Tinker
Jesus.
Tailor Soldier Spy and then Shame.
I don't think Britt was there. I think it
No,
was
you
Louis
weren't.
and
No, no.
Sam.
It was
Shame.
you-
What was Shame?
Jewish Sam.
Shame is
But
the
it was a guy with a Jewish.
it's the guy who made 12 Years a Slave. Steve McQueen
McQueen.
had a movie with Michael Fassbender about sex addiction.
Oh,
My thing
those
in-
three were out at the same time.
Yeah.
My
Watch
thing in
those
college
three
was
movies
I
In
would-
one night.
I would go down to the AMC on Times Square because it was so big and the staff just didn't give a fuck. So I'd buy a movie I know was playing on the top level, and I would just work my way down the different levels and
That's
go from
smart.
one movie to another movie to another movie. And I would like start at like 5.
Did they
and end
list
at like
the theaters though?
What?
Did they list the theaters?
They say when you like pass the theater, what movie's coming up?
on what room?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I would just like I would start at like 5 or 6 and then work my way till 1 or 2, and then Times Square at like 2 in the morning is beautiful. It's the only time Times Square is worth being in is 2 in the morning on Saturday
It's
night.
just never worth
It's
being
just
in.
deserted and it's beautiful. I was on a date.
Oh no, Jacob, trust me. I went to Times Square like right after quarantine started, totally empty during the daytime,
Yeah.
which is freaky.
Oh well, during the daytime I don't like Times Square, but during night
Sure.
because it's dirty. Like in the daytime you can see the dirt, but at night
But
there's
it's
this
not-
kind of like
It wasn't
moonlight
dirty.
glow
No,
on
no,
the
but
pavestones.
The reason it was so freaky was because it wasn't dirty, because no one was there.
Oh, now that would freak me out.
Right. And I used to work near Times Square too. So like it's like a weirder. It's like definitely worse when you just like go there every single day, and like you know where your lunch spots are and stuff like that.
See,
But
sometimes I would when I was a smoker, I would walk back up through Times Square, then I'd make my way around Columbus Circle, kind of cut up.
are
the
you
park.
are you totally off tobacco?
What?
Are you totally off tobacco?
I've been off tobacco since I first went to Prague.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's been a huge loss.
Yeah.
I think about going back to it every month.
I suppose that is the
My
the
life has
reason.
been less full because of me quitting tobacco.
Damn.
I breathe better. I cough less, but
Yeah.
I definitely get less enjoyment out of life.
Well, I mean, like, that's to be expected.
And
I suppose.
as your boy Camus would say, life is not a. Well, I guess your boy Camus would support my decision because life is not about the quality. Life is just about how much of it one has.
You're really pegging me as a really.
No, him. He's the
Oh.
Camus.
No, that was a thing in college a bit. I haven't
I'm gonna use the restroom.
thought about it in a while.
Go ahead.
You guys keep going.
Oh, it's on
You
us
want
to
to
continue.
riff? Yeah.
Well, we've got Netherlands, Ukraine on TV right now, and I was realizing it's sort of a
Do you mean the Ukraine?
yeah, the Ukraine, yeah, sorry. Because Ukraine has adorned a neo-Nazi slogan on their jerseys this tournament, but on the other hand, the Netherlands are coached by Frank de Boer, so it's
The worst manager in Premier League history.
hard to tell who to root for. I guess I still want the Netherlands to win, though. Ukraine has bad energy, though.
Yeah.
But
But the Dutch.
I know, right?
It's the Dutch.
I need to pick. Are Sweden in this tournament? Maybe I can just pick on them instead.
I don't even know, man.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I've not been paying attention to this.
I had to ask Adona, my door person, if Albania qualified.
Oh, she Albanian?
Yeah. We every time I see her, I just say "fuck Serbia," you know.
Nice, as is custom.
She was actually very appreciative whenever I say that.
Nice, yeah. I wonder. Jacob's probably expecting us to say something interesting while he's gone here. Sucks for him.
Sucks that we're not interesting.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about, or he probably wants us to say something about him, too, specifically. But
That's true.
No, we're just talking about soccer. Guess what? You leave us alone for a second. We talk about soccer. Oh, thought that was gonna be a
Ooh.
goal.
Sometimes we talk about other sports,
Talked about baseball on Friday.
right? And sometimes I'll randomly talk about the Knicks.
That's true. I guess that's over now, isn't it?
Unfortunately. Well, actually, I'm not sad that the journey has ended. I'm just happy that it happened at all.
People were having fun. I came back into the city. I guess I came from the airport, so through Penn Station. While that one game they won had just ended, and people
Yeah.
were pumped. It's probably the most similar energy. When we left the Mets game, it was sort of similar energy. to
It
that.
might be the end of the world because the Knicks have won a playoff game.
Had they the last time in their playoffs? Did they not win a playoff game?
I don't think so. It was like 2013. I mean, maybe they won like one game in the series, but it's been like 8 years.
The
since...
NBA is really. I've for a second I was sort of on top of it, but I've now devoted that energy, I think, to baseball now, where I'm pretty on top of baseball again, and I cannot keep track of the NBA. But I can only keep two sports in my head at once.
What about you? How are you doing with sports?
I've been following the NBA playoffs like a fiend. What are we at for running time right now?
We're at an hour 10.
Okay. I have one thing I want to let you have an open floor on. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
No,
Okay.
No, just
we're
let's
just riffing on the soccer right now.
We
Okay.
love the Knicks.
Stories
Let's
from
go
your-
Knicks.
I did want to ask this. I mean, I guess this is more in the controversial topic, so maybe we shouldn't.
Well,
If
let's
you're
hear
gonna
it.
end it on this, then sure, whatever.
Well, we can always cut. I'm interested. I want to hear because I've been wanting to get someone else's take on this, on the podcast especially, but also just like give somebody the chance to like have their take on it. Is the gender pronouns thing, because where I'm at with it is, and I was like been trying to bring this up with different people, and no one has a good answer for me. And you guys are always, even though I might disagree with you on certain things, you're always well-reasoned people. You always have interesting takes. To me,
I take offense to you calling me well-reasoned.
you guys are well-read. You guys are intelligent. It's always a pleasure to see you.
How dare you?
I'm happy to be in New York and see both of you.
Yeah, I'm
Happy
happy,
you're here,
to
yeah.
see you too, of course.
Okay.
Like,
Always
We
happy
actually
to catch up.
what?
I said always happy to catch up.
Okay. All right. So I guess to me, I'm not saying that like I think people should be able to do or identify or like be whoever they want to be. This is my own personal take. But I guess I don't see the value, okay, in like just look, there's biological male, biological female, right? Excluding like
Sort of.
natural right. Excluding like mental differences, excluding like transvestites. Let's just say like
Well,
biologically
that's not the word anymore. It's intersex.
intersex.
Yeah.
Okay. Like whatever. You have most people biological male, biological female. So why not just sticking to like he, him pronouns for a male, she, her pronouns for a biological female? Like
because here's
Well,
the thing.
one.
why
Well,
shouldn't we just be
So
doing that?
right,
Well,
I
it's
told you earlier, Jacob, that I decided to be he they now instead of he him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Oh, thank you. And a large reason of that is just solely because I grew up with a family that had very strict ideas of what gender roles are, and growing up, I was always in conflict with that. And then as I became an adult, I just realized that this will make no material difference to my life to say that I'm he they, because whoever wants to call me he him or he or like whatever will continue to call me that. But for me, at like a personal level, I just want to address that conflict in like the way that I identify with whatever values and roles there are. So for me, it's just like I'm not kept to these things, and that represents to me like why that is, and like for that reason, like I don't fully identify with what like being male is, and it's not about biology. It's like when you ask someone to call you like Jacob instead of Jake, that's not about the fact that you were born as Jacob. It's about the fact that you are Jacob and you don't want to be called Jake.
Or I noticed you introduced yourself as Yurak this episode, not Jurak or Jirak. Like I think a lot of people probably called you in college, or like if they didn't know your name at first, like they would mispronounce your name. But I wanted to mention the biology thing because, like, first off, like biological male, biological female is not so simple. Like it's not. There is biologists do not agree that it's simple binary thing. Like there is a spectrum of having different sort of traits, and it's every time they try to like issue some sort of biological scientific bounds or definition, they can't. Like I don't know, you might have heard about like there's sort of an ongoing controversy at all times about like trying to do testing for the Olympics for female sports, and it's really because usually someone wins something and somebody issues a lawsuit thinking, oh, they're too masculine, or like, oh, that's like cheating, they shouldn't be in this category. And it comes down to like these thresholds of testosterone, and like the chromosome thing is not so simple, and they're basically making it up every time. So like the you know, like yes, there are largely like people group themselves, like have different sets of certain biological traits. That is the thing.
Secondary
but, like,
sex characteristics.
Yeah, but it is not like biological male, biological female is not like written in stone. Basically, it's just the first thing I wanted to say. But yeah, and then like I think Peaches touched on it well, and I think like one thing I was thinking, I actually thought this might come up, so I think I was thinking
Prepared
about it a
for
little.
this.
Yeah. So like it's not like the final argument. It's not the most robust argument I would make, but like one side to it, I think that should be considered is like, who the fuck cares, dude? Like who the fuck cares?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Who cares? Like it doesn't affect. Like I can and will offer a more substantive critique or in sports of people being able to choose it. But like if you are cis, if you do choose continue to use the pronouns that you were given at birth, like it doesn't affect you to have other people doing it, which, you know, I think you sort of said leading off. So it's like, who the fuck cares, you know?
I think the idea too is like if you are, you know, like if you got offended if someone called you she, that would be the exact same argument against it, right? Like it's just like, well, like if you decided like, oh, this is what I want to be, and this is what I want to be called, and this is how I want to identify, and someone calls you something different, then you'd be offended too. Like you just got to put yourself in that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's just really easy to understand. And on top of that, like I do think that like there's like a bit of a losing battle somewhere in here with you know, like the extent at which we're going with people might go with personal pronouns, because it's not, you know, like it'll never be a standardized thing, but like, you know, like beyond they, them, z's, like zim or zir, and like all of these things, I personally do think that ends up being kind of a losing battle in terms of like argumentative stuff. But you know, it's also like a fraught thing, because like you'll identify how you want to, and that's fine. I'll call you what you want me to call you. But like as an overall argument, it's just like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know there's some people I followed kind of like, or in that discourse, so like there's like a queer activism theory discourse around kind of like hypercategorization. I think that like people, which, you know, I don't really have enough standing to participate in, but like I do know it is a thing that people are talking a lot about. But, you know, and I will say just beyond the who cares thing, I think that is really step 0 for me, and that I will say I will go beyond that, because I think you should go beyond that. We're just saying that it really does really like harm people to not let them use the pronouns that they prefer, and I think it is not just a matter of, oh, it doesn't affect me. It does like really fuck with people if you don't like honor that, especially if they ask. And most of the time, like I think some people have this image that like people are gonna like freak out at you or screech at you or like, you know, like cancel you or whatever you get it wrong. Most people really, almost every time, vast majority of the time, are really just like, it's just like, hey, just like FYI, like this is how I go by. And like people do not want to make a big issue out of it, because they don't want that, like non-binary, gender non-conforming people get enough shit already for their gender and their presentation in their society. They don't want to have a big event like
that's
like
true.
everyone looking at them, and they don't want to cause a big event. So like also like if you're in a situation where somebody tells you about that, like it doesn't help, or like even if you feel sorry, it doesn't help to be like, oh, I'm sorry, make a big show about how sorry you are. Like no, just like take a note, be like, oh, okay, thanks, and just like make a note to get the pronouns right from there on out.
I mean, this is also like an issue with. I mean, when we talk about liberalism, this is kind of part of the issue too. It's like,
Okay, I would love to let you get on a tangent. It's going to take me an hour to get to JFK
Yes.
from here. I've got a flight if I can't move it because I can't afford to move it. So
well, I'll wrap this up real quick.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'll just wrap this
the
up real quick
airlines stopped
because
all
like
the COVID
this is the
stuff, or-
whole thing about the liberalism thing, and just like the people who do end up getting most angry about this end up just being like white, like cis, heterosexual people who are getting angry on the behalf of other people in like the way that we're talking about like cancel culture and rage and stuff. But yeah, like what Brit is saying, like every time I've talked to either someone who's non-binary or even someone who's trans, like it's just people remind you, and then as long as you like are conscientious about that, and you like are being an ally for those people too. I think that's just the most important
Just
thing.
make a genuine effort.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure there's a lot more we could say and discuss on this topic, and there's probably a lot more we could say and discuss on the topics we've talked about. I did not expect this to be such a contentious podcast, but hopefully,
I'm surprised by that actually.
hopefully the listeners. Yeah, I figured it'd just be like some fun story swapping, but hopefully our listeners will enjoy it. And thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah,
thanks
Few
for
from the
having us.
few from
202.
202. No,
Viewfrom202.com.
no demonstrative
Email us,
pronoun.
contact at viewfrom202.
View from 202. All right, peace.
See it.